This is where, so this is the part of this video where I'm gonna be honest. If you're not actually selling homes and you're not doing the work, how are you supposed to teach other agents to do the work? Right? To me, that doesn't make any sense. Negativity sells. So I think what happens is that some realtors, they decide to go down that path of doom and gloom. So the more views and clicks you get on a negative video about a market crash or some other type of negative event, whether it be immigration or something else that realtors really shouldn't be commenting, they get paid. When I did something like 7,000 condo listings or some of those other like doom and gloom posts, I would get a lot of comments, a lot of action, a lot of virality. I'm not doing that anymore. Hey there, people. Welcome back to the final Under the Radar Real Estate Podcast. Yes, this is the final Under the Radar Real Estate Podcast. I'm sure those of you who do watch this month to month might be a little surprised that this is my last one. I've been doing this now for just over 2.5 years, but I have to be honest, I think I've been feeling a little off about real estate content online. I mean, I really realized that I was kind of spending more time being a real estate journalist rather than an actual realtor through the podcast, obviously. Um, and I think there's so many other places where you can get the news, like traditional news outlets, that you didn't need another realtor trying to explain the news. Um, Even though, like, I guess the idea behind it was the market report and kind of giving my take on that. We'll still be doing that in some form going into next year, which we'll talk about later in this podcast, kind of like what the vision is moving forward with this channel. The channel's not going anywhere. The channel's still going to exist. We're still going to be doing a whole bunch of cool content on here, but the podcast is no more. So, um, let's get into the why I feel that it's time to fold this and move on. So the first thing is I think the business model of social media, the social media real estate space. I think the business model is less about informing and obtaining new clients. I mean, I think a lot of people, when they first get into this, the idea is, hey, I can inform a bunch of people, meet new clients, and help them buy real estate. But I think what happens really quickly is realtors fall down this rabbit hole of getting views and clicks because I think the more views, the more clicks, the more subscriptions turns into more clients. But what I found is that doesn't necessarily correlate. And I think there's like a disassociation between those two things. And what I've found, especially on YouTube, and I think a little bit on TikTok and Instagram, is negativity sells. So I think what happens is that some realtors, they decide to go down that path of doom and gloom, right? So market crash, don't do this. I wouldn't buy this. Don't do that. Scare, 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 right? So terrify people because it gets clicks, right? So when you put that stuff out, people will click on it. For whatever reason, the way the algorithm works, the way our world works, is fear and panic and terror gets people to click on your video. So realtors tend to just make that type of content to be able to get those clicks and views. And then what happens is YouTube will actually monetize that. So the more views and clicks you get on a negative video about a market crash or some other type of negative event, whether it be immigration or something else that realtors really shouldn't be commenting on, well, not necessarily commenting on, but feeding that fear, they get paid, right? So the more clicks and views and watch time they get more ads and they get more something called AdSense. And that's what YouTube rewards is money for fear effectively. So I kind of had to ask myself, like, am I, what is the goal of this podcast? Am I trying to sell houses or sell fear? And I think I came to that realization that I don't want to be selling fear. That's not who I am. That's not what I want to do. But I think there's a lot of realtors out there for better or worse. I mean, I can pop up the numbers from November and you can see, I mean, transaction numbers are down. So I don't blame realtors for trying to find a new avenue to make money because I think there's a lot of agents who are struggling right now and they're not selling a lot of homes, especially a lot of the agents who have actually pretty big followings on these platforms, whether YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram. When you actually look at the numbers of who's actually selling homes, some of the agents who you would assume that have these massive followings online, they aren't selling a lot of homes. And that's just the reality, right? They portray it. I mean, you'll see them on their Instagram on vacations or driving nice cars and doing all these really cool things. But when you actually look at the numbers, they may do quite a few transactions, but maybe most of those are going to be rentals. They might do a few sales here and there, but they're nowhere near the top earners in our market. Most of the top earners in our market don't have YouTube channels and don't have large Instagram followings. Those are the top of the top. Now there are some top agents who do have really good presence online and stuff like that. So I'm not kind of trying to paint everyone with the same brush. But um, the other thing I want to talk about is that, and this is more for the people watching this. And when I talk about a lot of realtors who have large followings, sometimes it can feel like, and I've had some of my clients mention this to me before. I mean, they follow other agents online. It's fine. They're not just going to follow me alone. But they seem to think they seem to kind of repeat the same thing, that like sometimes it feels like these agents aren't really talking to them, right? There's certain agents where they're like, I was following them because I thought they were giving me good information, but it just kind of feels like they were almost trying to recruit other agents or trying to create these coaching programs. And they're 100% right. A lot of the agents out there who are creating content, it isn't for end users, it isn't for the buyers and sellers out there. A lot of times it's just for other agents, because there's this part of real estate that exists that I'm still shocked that our industry allows it, but it's this recruitment model. So there's this one brokerage. I mean, it's been around for a long time. I mean, that was their shtick for years, was this pyramid recruitment model. So the idea is, if you're an agent and you attract another agent to join this brokerage, so if I attract Realtor A to come join my brokerage, then I would be able to collect a certain amount or a certain percentage of Realtor A's fees. And if I do that a whole bunch of times, I can generate a pretty decent income if all the agents that I recruit are producing a lot of business. Um, but then what was interesting is that they call these things, there's something called a downline. Whereas, like, if I recruit an agent and they recruit an agent and that agent recruits another agent, all of that kind of chain of recruitment that started from me, I get a piece of all of those agents' commissions. So what has happened in some of these brokerages, and especially like that older brokerage, is there's some people who don't even sell real estate anymore. They just recruit agents to join this brokerage. So a lot, they will make content and they will become like real estate coaches and all this kind of stuff just to recruit a whole bunch of agents. So they're not selling real estate, they're just recruiting realtors. And then what has happened over the last decade is there's a few brand new tech forward brokerages that have been popping up recently, and they all kind of use the same model of recruit, 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 recruit. So the more fees that they can collect as brokerages, because as a realtor, we pay a fee to our brokerage, the more fees that they collect. So that from the brokerage side, yeah, they want as many agents as possible to collect fees and collect commissions. But then the agents are incentivized to keep recruiting because they can create these downlines where they don't even need to sell real estate, they just need to recruit. And I have issues with this because I'm like, for me, it's like you have these people who are not selling real estate, but they are licensed realtors, and they focus so much of their day to day on creating content. They're creating 2 to 3, sometimes a dozen videos in a week, really high production stuff. So I know they're not out there actually doing the showings and doing buyer visits and inspections and all that kind of stuff. Um, so they're not really selling real estate because the numbers aren't there. They're not selling homes, but they're recruiting. But then when they are selling homes, they don't know what to do because they don't actually do the work. Um, what I'm kind of getting at is that it feels like a lot of these realtors they aren't auditioning to be your realtor. I mean, they're just auditioning to be a team leader so they can not sell real estate and just earn off of other agents. And for me, it just creates this, and these are also the agents that, I mean, because they do a really good job of marketing themselves, they also position themselves as as authority figures to teach other agents how to do business. Now, listen, I'm not going to knock anyone's hustle, but if you're not actually selling homes and you're not doing the work, how are you supposed to teach other agents to do the work? Right? To me, that doesn't make any sense. So, anyhow, and funnily enough, so a lot of these agents also tend to do the same kind of doom posting of like market crashes and all this kind of stuff. And what happens is a lot of other agents just consuming that kind of content. And I found that even with my content, right? I mean, I'd have a lot of agents be like, "Oh, I love your video," and it's like, yeah, I'm doing well with agents, but I'm not doing well with the people who I actually am trying to make this content for. Um, so this is where So this is the part of this video where I'm gonna be honest, right? Like, I mean, I've done some of the, like I've done that, right? I mentioned it a couple times already. I've done some of the doom content because it was getting clicks and it was getting views. So I rode that wave, and I did it because, I mean, those videos worked, right? I'd get so many of my videos, maybe I'd get 100 views, 200 views. Like the videos that are actually educational wouldn't get a lot of views, wouldn't get a lot of clicks, wouldn't get a lot of engagement, comments, that kind of stuff. But when I did something like 7,000 condo listings, or some of those other like doom and gloom posts, I would get a lot of comments, a lot of action, a lot of virality. Um, but while it hits that dopamine in your brain, like, hey, I'm doing well, it doesn't really do anything for my business. And I think I got caught up in the YouTube game instead of the real estate game. And the whole idea is like why I started this channel under the radar, and I named it Under the Radar because I wanted to um, uncover little things that the average buyer or seller may not necessarily consider, or they don't know, things that other realtors don't necessarily talk about. That was the whole ethos of this, and also uncover under the radar neighborhoods that people don't necessarily consider. That was the whole idea. I mean, you look back at my old videos, that's what all the content was. But then I strayed away from that because just chasing views and clicks. So I'm not doing that anymore. And if you go through my channel right now, you'll see I unlisted so much of that kind of stuff. So those videos just don't exist on my channel anymore. I'm still going through. I had a lot of videos up, so I'm kind of auditing my channel as we speak and removing a lot of that. Even just changing the thumbnails and titles and doing some small edits to some of the videos to just remove some of that doom. And really, this channel is going to be an educational channel. So yeah, it's going to be nerdy. It's going to be boring. But hopefully it's actually going to help people when they have a question or they don't understand something, right? So the whole, I mean, now I'm actually kind of getting more excited again because what I want to create is a place like a resource center for people, and cover topics that aren't really talked about that often, right? So, um, like I'm going from, I guess the idea is like I'm going from macro, which is like market and policy, and just focusing on micro, right? So things like floor plans and condo fees and neighborhoods, those kinds of things that really help people buying and selling real estate right now. So it's going to be boring for 95% of the people out there. But those of you watching and those of you who like those videos, I'm going to keep making more of that, right? So I'm going to be focusing on for the 10% of people who go to YouTube just to learn. I'm not saying I'm the best teacher to teach everything, but I'm going to try to at least point out those little things that aren't talked about that often that you may search for and you don't know, right? So an example is like, if you're a buyer out there and you're looking for a townhouse, I just recently did a video on explaining the different types of townhouses. Because I mean, sometimes it can be confusing, right? Everyone thinks a townhouse is a townhouse, and then all of a sudden, you see this word like a condo townhouse. What is that, right? So you can go find my video on condo townhouses and understand the different types of townhouses. Another video I've done recently just about old versus new construction and why sometimes an older home can trade for more on a price per square foot basis than a brand new house. sounds counterintuitive, but sometimes you just pay more for materials. And I get into kind of like the why of that. So those are the type of videos that you're going to see a lot more of on my channel. And I'm going to get back to doing the neighborhood tour videos, and that's going to be a constant on the channel. So the first video that we're probably going to do in the new year is Briar Hill, the neighborhood I live in. And we're going to do a lot more of that kind of content where we walk the neighborhood, we talk about the different type of house types that you can find in the neighborhood. That's where some of the market stats will creep back into the videos, just so we'll talk about like what the average price is in some of those neighborhoods versus the overall average in the city, like we've always been doing on this podcast, but now it's just gonna be more granular and it's gonna be neighborhood by neighborhood. So you will get a little bit of the overall Toronto stats every month, but it's going to be framed against whichever neighborhood we're touring that month, which I'm a lot more excited for because, again, that was how this channel launched, and that's what we're going back to. So with that though, this with this being the final podcast, I'm still going to give the market stats for anyone out there who came here for that. So let's look at the stats. I'm going to pull them up here on the screen. All right, so this isn't going to be long. We're just going to go over this really quickly because, I mean, yeah, not much has changed month to month for the market stats. Um, yeah, you can see the numbers behind me here. I mean, the interesting thing is that, like, when we look at prices in the 416, right? Detached houses down 9%, semi-detached down 5%, townhouses down about 4%, condos only down 1.7%, right? So we're seeing average prices down across the board. We're seeing sales numbers down in detached and condos. Semis and townhouses are kind of holding steady. They're actually up slightly over last year. But the big thing in the market, and this is really what's dictating everything in our market right now, are the listing counts, right? So when we look at these are the GTA numbers, but we have almost 24,550 active listings, which is a lot, right? And new listings, there was another 11,000 new listings that were added in November, but only 5,000 sales, right? So when we have only 5,000 sales for 25, almost 25,000 listings, it's not surprising that prices are down, right? There's just still a lot of inventory that we're just not selling off. So yeah, that's just the reality of where we're at. Those are the market stats. I mean, you saw them on the screen. I'll put a download to the market report in my blog if you want to look at the whole report and get into the numbers. So thanks for watching. But if you're here for the nerdy stuff, remember to like, subscribe. There's going to be a lot more of that content coming and neighborhood tours. So, yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Have a happy holidays. We probably won't put new content out until the new year, 2026. So, watch out for that. Peace out.